New tracks and new challenges. That is what is in store for me in part 2 of week 1 racing on LFM. Now in season 16 I'd set myself the challenge and the commitment to doing both types of races during each week. And for the 25-minute sprint race we are at Kyalami, which is a track I have not done a single lap on before this week. Now with my full mission of gaining more safety rating, trying to get it over that magic 5.0 number, I was really hoping that these two races at Kyalami would give me the opportunity to do that. And starting out at 4.57, I wasn't particularly far away from achieving that number. But will I be able to do it on a track I've never driven on before and never seen racing at in real life? Well, I will reveal all to you at the end of this video. So for now, let's dive straight into qualifying for race 1.
Right, and it is straight out for qualifying, my first ever qualifying session at Kyalami, and we are going to treat this one as a bit of a track guide for the circuit, which I've never raced on before until today, with a couple of hours of practice beforehand. We come through this little kink that is technically turn number 1, and as we come down to turn number 2, which we'll call turn number 1 for the sake of this video, known as Crowthorne, and then we come up the hill here, turns 3 and 4, there's little kinks, and then second gear, get it over into turn number 5, run it wide. Turn number 5 is called Barbecue, which I think is awesome. That is an amazing name for a track corner. And then we come down here, turn number 6, Sunset, go 4th gear, as a bit of braking, we wait to then get on the power, run it out wide, you can easily get track limits out there, down to turn 7, known as Clubhouse, 2nd gear, too much curb on this particular lap, run it out wide, and then down through the S's, which you get 3rd gear, you try and get tight over here, and you can pretty much then go full throttle, down and up, out the other side of this hill here, and we come up to the hairpin at the top of the track. It's got a blind entry, it's hard to find your brake marker. I struggled with this so much and we still are getting ourselves stopped for that corner. And then down the hill here into turn 12, known as Mineshaft, you just go flat through here up to 5th gear, get it over to the left, there's a little mark on the road, you just saw it, that's your braking point for the Crocodiles, turn 13 and 14. Run it out over this curb, and then this last set of corners, this one here, turn 15, that inside curb is deadly, that corner is known as Cheetah, and then into the last corner, 1st gear, get it turned in, power out the other side, and we have done our lap here of Kyalami. It's going to be a 1 minute 42.4, it's putting us in 15th in this split 1 category race, and it is a country mile away from the best times. You see here 1.6 seconds, and if we look at the top 4 players in the split, they have ridiculous elo. I'm way out of my depth here right now, so I'm not expecting being dual 23 to get any real result from this race. Starting P16, green light, and away we go through turn number 1. No issues because it's just a kink in the straight, but we're on the outside of turn 2 and we're hoping to just stay clean on this one. Again, the safety rating is our big thing for here. Basically 3 wide, I'm going to be patient on the exit. There's a Lamborghini going off into that inside grass. Ferrari getting loose here, and I'm going to go around the outside into turn number 5 and get a bit too much grass on the exit, and it just lights up the rears and around I go. And at Barbecue I get grilled into that inside concrete wall, and we're at the back. That's where I expect it to be. There's now no one around us, and we can hopefully just get a really clean race and see if a few people are in front of us make some mistakes and see if we can't not get last in this split 1 race. Unfortunately, we come to the hairpin in the first lap here. We come out the other side, there's a McLaren here that's been involved in an issue. He's slowed up, he's in front of us still, but we're going to at least have someone to follow for the first part of this race. Basically everyone in the split is faster than me, so anyone I can follow for a while is going to hopefully teach me something. He goes really deep into the Crocodiles though. We just let up, let him back in. Again, I'm just trying to follow and learn and hopefully stay nice and safe. We get through the Cheetah for the first time, down into the final turn, and it is a pretty unsuccessful first racing lap here at Kyalami. We've just got to see what we can achieve from here. And as we come into turn 7 on lap number 2, On the inside of the circuit, we have a Lamborghini that has spun, so we gain one position up into P22 now. Mission not last is currently successful. And then on lap number 4, we come up to the hairpin here, and same as lap number 1, we come out the other side to find the Lamborghini off into the grass. It's the second time in this race that he has been turned around. He was a P10 position on the grid for the start of this one, so I am expecting him to come back to me at some point in this race. And then it's a relatively clean next set of laps here, and with 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go, I make a little error here into the S's, a little bit too much wheel spin, a bit of a slide. We slow up the hill, and that Lamborghini now, he's coming up behind with a run. He's going to put it down the inside here, and I'm going to easily let him take that one. And again, hopefully follow him and learn a couple of things from him in the next 13 minutes or so. And then on lap number 8 here, we come into turn 15, and there is a Ferrari on the outside of the circuit that has fallen victim, I believe, to that inside curbing. So we pick up one more position up to P21. And then the last sort of 14 minutes of this race are pretty straightforward. We lose some time to the cars in front. The Lamborghini behind us never gets close. In fact, he has some sort of issue, and we just managed to find a bunch of time on him. So it's just been a bit of a hot lap session, a bit of a stint session, just to work out the track a little way and just see if we can't learn something as we go, which I have done, I feel. I made no really big mistakes, didn't hit that inside curve at turn 15, didn't have any big off-track moments, so I felt that consistency was there, and that should hopefully serve me well for the next races here at Kyalami. Finishing in that P21 and gaining some safety rating, fortunately, with a relatively non-contact race in this one. But no intermission now. We're going to jump straight out into qualifying for race number 2, which, as you can see, unfortunately is in the dark. Now, the problem with the dark races for me is a lot of these tracks I'm still trying to learn as we go. We've had a few recently where I get a little bit of a groove, and then the night session completely changes the dynamics of the visuals at the track, and I don't have as much feel for the circuit to just be able to sort of get onto pace. However, I was going to try and put my best foot forward here, and with 7 minutes 55 seconds to go in qualifying, set my first flying lap. It's a 23.0, not as fast as I was in the previous race, and unfortunately that's as quick as I get. You see here I fall victim to that inside curb at Cheetah, and that is going to sort of set the tone for the rest of qualifying here. One of the next laps, we're coming through turn number 6 here, finding ourselves half a second up on my best, but we run it a little wide into Clubhouse, and I get a bit of grass on that outside curb, and I spin myself off into that inside wall, just as that Lamborghini did in race number 1. And then on my last flying lap, I'm trying to find an improvement, but I run a bit wide here at Cheetah, losing with the track limits, and that's it. We call it quits, straight into the pits. Practice the pit entry one time, and that is my qualifying session. Again, I am now 3.4 motorsport light years away from the best time in this split. It's a split 2 race, and I was really hoping for a much better showing here than what I came up with. Race time now, and we're going to have ourselves a green light. We are on the inside now as we head down into turn 2, known as turn 1. And it's going to change the dynamics of this first set of corners a little bit. It's Aston Martin here, he had a bit of a run. I just move over to cover him. I want to stay really tight to this inside first corner. Fortunately, going 3 wide now, the Ferrari in the middle, he backs out of it, and we make our way up into turn 2. A couple of cars are exiting the scene here, and as we come around the top out of Barbecue, there is a Ford off to that inside wall. I know exactly how that one feels. And we're going to come into turn number 6, moving up a few positions to position 10. Later in that lap, we're going to have this McLaren. He's dived it super hard down the inside at the hairpin, and he's bunching up now the cars in front of us. I find myself on the grass, exiting down towards turn 12, mine shaft. And as we come down to turn 13, the Crocodiles, the McLaren, he gets on the grass and he has a big spin. Sort of a little bit of a maneuver to avoid him, but we managed to get ourselves up to P9, getting through now Cheetah, no issues there, into the final corner, And in one lap, we have gone from P15 up to P9 in a relatively successful first lap. No contact at all with any cars at this point, so I'm definitely taking that as a win. I'm now a bit closer to where I feel I should be in this race based on my poor qualifying result. Into lap 2, we come up to barbecue once more, and there is a second Ford that has done exactly the same thing out of turn number 5, at moving ourselves up to position 8. And then as we make our way through turn 6 and pushing our way up to clubhouse turn 7, this green Ferrari here, he runs wide of the apex, takes that grass on the outside, and he mirrors my qualifying crash, which obviously is a lot more of a problem in the race. So we're up to position 7, it's all going pretty well so far, and at the end of lap number 3 we can see there's a couple of white cars in front, they're having a bit of a battle. You can't go too wide through Cheetah, and that shows the Nissan, he spins out, worried about how he's going to come onto track, but we'll brake and avoid that one, letting the McLaren behind get right onto my tailpipes. And there also seems to be a disconnection issue up ahead, because all of a sudden I go from P7 to P5 despite only passing one car on track. So we've gained 10 positions now in the space of 3 racing laps, and then things start to settle down a little bit. Fortunately, we're in P5, we're trying to get some consistency. On lap number 5 there, I set my fastest time at Kyalami to date, a 42.2, and I'm sort of been able to keep the McLaren behind me without too much trouble, although I am losing a little bit of time to some of the cars in front. We come now into turn number 6 once more. There's 14 minutes left to go in this race, and there is definitely some hopes for a really strong finish here, because in the previous race, what I had shown was that I could be consistent and not make any big mistakes. However, I get it wrong into the S's here on lap number 7. I get a really big slide that allows the McLaren past me up front. And then as we come through into the hairpin, I have an almighty dive bomb thrown at me from the Nissan that was spun earlier in the race. He was miles behind, and he's really lucky that I saw him coming, leaving him some space down to P7. And then just a lap later, I'm overly cautious to the S's, and I grab the curb far too much, and it fires me off into the gravel, and I have a train of cars come by me, being very slow up the hill here. And it's a pretty disastrous lap for me in general. Ferrari, he drives in, there's a spin at front for this Aston Martin. We try really hard to avoid that one as well, and more cars come by us, and we're now down to position 11, and this race is really beginning to unravel for me. I get really thrown when we have issues like this. I kind of love to just slowly build up towards a limit for me, and having a few corners or having a lap that it really doesn't go my way really throws me off. It takes a couple laps for me to settle down again. You see, I almost hit that inside curb at turn 15, and I'm just now desperate to get a little bit of time to find my pace and find my rhythm again and settle back into that nice pace I had only a lap before. As we come through the kink now, I'm giving myself a bit of a pep talk here. This Ferrari, he's showing the nose. I know he's going to dive up the inside. We let that go, and then I try to get back across because the McLaren is also trying to do the same thing. We're coming up the hill here. He's just showing the nose, which is a bit awkward. Coming up to turn 5, we have the same thing again. I'm hanging it around the outside. Fortunately, we're giving each other enough racing room, and I again have not touched a single car in this race to this point, despite some of the off-track moments and some of the cars around me. So it's been pretty successful from that perspective. He's still trying to show the nose up now into turn number 7, and I'm able to hang it around the outside. I'm wary of that grass on the outside of the exit, and we just managed to get enough drive to get in front of him. Coming down here into the S's, we don't make a mistake this lap, and fortunately we get away. A couple minutes later and a couple laps later, we have now a 2.4 second gap to those cars in front of us, and I'm slowly finding that confidence back and getting back to my groove. And you can see now, a few laps later, we've actually managed to close the gap to that Ferrari in front, and we begin to believe again that a top 10 finish in this race could be possible, which would be a nice little salvage moment for me, considering the issues that we've had so far. get down to the hairpin once more. And I've been trying really hard to look after the tyres during this race as well, because that was a bit of a struggle I had at the end of the previous one, being a bit too aggressive. So I'm just trying to be a bit calmer on how I apply the throttles. It seems to be working in a way. My pace hasn't fallen off too much in the latter part of this lap. You can see this Ferrari in front, he's struggling to get it stopped down into crocodiles. But unfortunately I make a final unforced error. I just grabbed that almighty curb at turn 15. Fires us off into the gravel. I'm quite frustrated at myself at this point. More frustrated at myself for a mistake like that than I would be if someone had just cleaned me out in turn 1. I really do put pressure on myself to try and perform better every race. This one didn't quite go so well for me. Now there's lots of space to the cars behind me. I'm sitting in P15 after that error, so it's just a case now of bringing it home and having to just reflect on this to try and find some positives from it. We come on through, we've got the coloured smoke celebrating somebody else's success, and we come through that very lowly P15. This race should have offered a lot more for me. But we'll be beating ourselves up for that one for a few days at least, I think.
So, an unfortunate and very frustrating way to end my second race at Kyalami. And like I said in the video, I'm more frustrated at myself for my unforced errors than I would be if someone had taken me out during this race. But I need to stay positive. It's the motto of my channel. So let's roll in with some positives from these two races. First of all, the safety rating was awesome for these two races. So despite the crash at the first race, I was only picked up 6 incident points and managed to pull myself up to 4.75 safety rating. And then in the second race, an interesting thing about safety rating is because I made no contact with other cars and just had those 3 off-track moments, I only picked up 3 incident points during the race. Now you get a small bonus if you only pick up 3 or less points, which meant that I got a 0.38 safety rating for that particular race. That nudged me over the 5.0 mark, and with the 0.25 bonus, we are now up to 5.38 safety rating and officially out of the first part of Rookie Series. Also, to pick one final positive note, the start of race number 2, although chaotic, was obviously perfectly clean for me. So I must be starting to pick up some type of racecraft which is allowing me to be in the right positions and avoid certain contacts. Granted, we have continued to build the safety rating, and I have been driving with other drivers which have done many more races than me. And hopefully that bodes well for future races as we climb out of rookies completely, hopefully in the next race or 2. So guys, let me know in the comments, what did you think of those first couple of races for me at Kyalami? I certainly have a lot of work to do at this track, but this is all part of the big process when it comes to ACC. And I'm looking forward to jumping into week 2 in a couple of days time and bringing you along for the journey as always. Hope you guys are getting some awesome racing as well. Subscribe if you have not already, if you want to see more of these experiences in the future. Race hard, stay positive. We'll see you all again very soon for another video. Cheers.